Okay, yesterday we all decided who you're going to write about. You all decided who your biography is going to be about. Mine's going to be about Dr. Seuss. And today you're going to use the information you get from your book or anything else you read to help you fill out a planning sheet. Remember, the writing process, we have a pre-writing or planning time. So this is going to be our planning sheet that's going to help us write down some things we need to learn about the person we're going to write the biography about. Now, I do not want you to just start writing on here what you know. I want you to write what you get from the book, right? But we're not just going to copy all the sentences. Of course, you have to copy dates. Someone asked me about that yesterday. Well, yes, dates are dates. You just have to copy those. But I don't want you to write a sentence from a book and then write it in your paper as well, because if you copy someone else's sentence, that is not right. It's called plagiarism, and we don't want to do that. We want to do our own writing. But, of course, you can write the facts. And I'm going to show you how to do this with my Dr. Seuss book. So it's going to be my notes about the person. You're going to talk about their birth, so you can put the date and where they were born, maybe, if you find that out. Then some interesting things about their childhood. That might be important to know. And then the school or their education or special training, anything that they did to become what they were. So if they went to college, you could write here. If they went to a high school, you could write there. Some of you are doing athletes, so if they went to a special training, you could put that. Okay, so you can put any of those things there. If you're not sure if something fits there, you can raise your hand and I'll come and ask. You can ask me if that fits. And then these are important things they did in their adulthood. So things maybe who they married, or where they went, or what they did in their adulthood. And then important achievements, like for Wilma Rudolph, you could put she won 3 medals, right? For Cooper, for the baseball player you're doing, you could put that he won All-Star, didn't he? The All-Star Award, okay? Or if they won a prize for the work they did, like a Pulitzer Prize, remember? Dr. Seuss won that prize. So you could put that there. And then any other things you think were cool, you could put here about the person. So we are not going to do this all in one day. This is called research. Can you say that? Research. Research. This is called research. Something we have not done yet in 2nd grade is research. And you get your research from sources. And the sources we're going to use are books and other writings. Okay, so that's why we're looking at EPIC. Because the books in EPIC are your reading level. So when you get on EPIC, remember, we go to EPIC. You click on Lindsay.zone, and we click on EPIC, and then you put our class code, RMN7090 in, and select your name. And now that you know the person, you can just type the person's name. You don't have to type biography anymore, because you're doing the one person. So let's see if there's any Dr. Seuss books on EPIC. So let me go to the website. I'm going to go to Lindsay.zone. For some reason it took me to Lindsay World, but this is Lindsay.zone, and then I click on EPIC. My internet is extremely slow. Okay, then I put my code RMN 7090. And then I click my name. Goodness gracious. Mine's a guest one. If it ever decides to come up. Okay, so I'm going to go down to guest. Okay, so now instead of typing biography here, I'm going to type the name of my person I'm going to write about. So there I have 2 books I can read. And if you want to find your reading level, you can click on reading level again and be here. But there's not going to be many books. So I want to read this book. This is a 2.1, so it's 2nd grade level. That's perfect. And I got all this information about Dr. Seuss. And I have the book I read yesterday. Let's see if we can find some information. Theodore Geisel wrote and illustrated children's books. His pen name was Dr. Seuss. his books had fun drawings and rhymes. So one thing I would think is pretty interesting is that his real name is Theodore Geisel, right? That's a pretty interesting fact, don't you think? And that doesn't really fit anywhere on my piece of paper. That doesn't really fit anywhere on here. It's not about his birth or his childhood. It could be about his childhood, but I think I'm going to write this in other information. His real name is Theodore Geisel. Probably should make sure I spelled that right. Let me look at my other book. I think it's in this book. Ted Geisel. Yes, I got it right. Okay. Yay. I spelled it right. So when we're taking notes, we're going to write down the most important information, not just cool facts. Now, this part is a cool fact that his real name was, but we want to write all the important information. Put the information in your own words. Don't copy. And write down information in a short way, not sentences. So we don't have to write sentences because we're just taking notes. I did write a sentence here, but these do not have to be sentences because these are notes. Notes, we're just writing all the information down because we're going to put them in sentences when we write our biography. This is just to help us. So I need to put his name here. And I'm going to go back to my story. See if it gives me the information I need. Theodore was born on March 2nd, 1904. So I'm going to write that on mine. I'll show you it in a minute. And he lived in Springfield, Massachusetts. I wonder if that's where he was born. It doesn't really say. Let me see if it says in here. In Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm going to write that. Springfield, Massachusetts. Okay, so I want to show you this. That's not supposed to be there. Okay, so here I got my two things about birth. His day he was born and where he was born. Look, do you notice my commas like we learned last week? Or the week before last? And dates, the comma comes after the day of the month. And in a town and city that goes between the town and city. So there I'm using things I've already learned. Okay, one thing I think is cool about his childhood is that they called him Ted. So his nickname was Ted when he was a child. So that's something cool about his childhood. His father worked at the zoo. Ted often went to work with his father. So I'm not going to copy that. I'm not going to write his father worked at a zoo. Ted often went to work with his father. I'm going to use it in my own words. And I remember reading in my other book that he liked the zoo, right? So I'm going to put he loved the zoo. He went there a lot. Let's say he went there a lot. You can't see that, can you? Did I copy? No, I didn't copy these words. I just wrote that he loved the zoo and he went there a lot. Okay, I'm not writing, this isn't even a complete sentence, love the zoo, but that's just to help me remember whenever I go to write my biography. Okay, let's go see if there's anything else about child. He liked to draw animals, but he drew them in funny shapes. He also drew cartoons for a school magazine. Later, Geisel drew cartoons for magazines and art advertisements. Then he wrote his first book. So, I'm going to put about his childhood that he loved, and I remember in this book they didn't call it drawing. Do you remember what they called it in the book I read yesterday? Yeah, he liked to doodle and draw funny animals. Now, some of these are sentences, some are not. That's okay. But I didn't copy, did I? I just read what I read, and then I put it in my own words on the piece of paper. So I got enough for his childhood now. His nickname was Ted. He loved the zoo. He went there a lot, and he liked to doodle and draw funny animals. Those are all important things about his childhood, right? It's important that he liked to doodle and draw funny animals, because that's what he's going to do his whole entire life. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, now we're getting into his adult time. Later, Geisel drew cartoons for magazines and advertisements. Then he wrote his first book. I'm going to keep reading about his adulthood. The book would use many rhymes. It was called And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. It was about a parade. Geisel wanted to write books that were easier for kids to read, so he wrote The Cat in the Hat. Then he wrote Green Eggs and Ham. They became popular. Geisel wrote many more books. They had memorable characters. His favorite was The Grinch from How the Grinch Stole Christmas. His books had fun stories. They also taught serious lessons. Some even won awards. So Geisel died on September 24th, 1991. So I'm going to put that, I'll show you in a minute, in his adulthood one. September 24, 1991, he died. I put that at the very end of my adulthood. See that? Just put it there at the end, because I'm going to fill this in. This book didn't give me a whole lot of information about his adult, just that he wrote the books. I think the other one from yesterday told me how many awards he won and stuff like that, and where he went to college. Okay, these were his kids. I did see that he drew cartoons for magazine and advertisements, so he drew cartoons. I don't want to copy that. Let me think. He drew cartoons for other people. Okay, now I'm going to look at my other book from yesterday. Make sure we're not running out of time here. I need to do 2 of them. Oh, let's see. Let's see. It says right here where he went to school. He went to school at Oxford University. Oh, I misspelled it. Oxford University in England. Okay. Oh, he married Helen. He married Helen Palmer. Remember, they lived in, you remember where they moved to? A tower. Yeah, eventually they moved to a tower. Let's see if I can find that. I thought that was pretty cool. Maybe I'll put that in other information. I think I will. Okay, his first book was, you remember? And to think, it's a long one, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. Okay, that was his first book. And then, do you remember he wrote Cat in the Hat? Why did he write Cat in the Hat? Why did he write it, Heather? He wrote it to make it easy, right? Yeah. He wrote easy to read books with rhyming words. The first one was Cat in the Hat. I'm running out of room. In the hat. Because I'm writing sentences. I shouldn't be writing sentences. Okay. So those are some things he did as an adult. He drew cartoons for other people. He married Helen Palmer. His first book was And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. He wrote easy to read books with rhyming words. The first one was Cat in the Hat. And September 24th, 1991, he died.